Welcome, everyone, to the Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will podcast.
My name's Nick Bantozzi.
And I'm Will Cashman. And today, before we start our episode, I again want to take a moment and thank all of our listeners. This is episode 5. Nick, this is episode 5.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for following us. We really appreciate this.
Yes, we do. We're very excited about this. If you've made it to episode 5 with us, thank you so much for sticking around, staying on board, and following this journey with us. We really do appreciate it. So today, also, if you hear meowing in the background, we are recording and my cat is right behind me. So everybody say hi to Maxine while we are here. If you've read my book, Colors Across the Sky, A Journey of Hope, you know about Maxine. There we go. Anyways, so today, we're going to talk about a topic. It does get talked about. And Nick, I'm starting to notice that the topics that we're bringing up, they do get talked about. And we keep saying like, oh, it doesn't really get talked about enough.
They do get talked about, but they don't get dove into.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. The deeper level.
Over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's like the superficial, there's like the generalized like way that, things get talked about. And then there's Nick and Will who come in and like destroy everything. I don't know. But reframe, we don't destroy things. We take care of ourselves and we do good things in recovery. But anyways, so the topic today is what makes a good treatment center. And the goal of this episode and the title of it too is what makes a good treatment center. But at the same time, we also put that subtitle of exposing disparities in addiction care. Yeah. And I don't think this episode is like the goal. The goal of this episode is not to point fingers at different treatment centers. It's just, I think we want to explore what is a good treatment center, and, what does trauma-informed care look like? Are there disparities in how, the LGBTQIA plus community has access to treatment? There's a lot of different things that create barriers, and not all treatment centers are set up to provide care in that way, but are they doing warm handoffs? Are we looking at other resources that are available? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was treatment like for you, Nick?
Well, it was funny because I was going to cut you off at some point and tell you, just because like
You can shut me up whenever you want.
This was my first time ever going through any kind of treatment center, period. So I don't have a lot to go on, but what I will say was I went through it, I think, at the right time, because the treatment center that I went to, it was before they were able to do clinically based stuff. So
Wow.
I was there longer. I was able to just kind of not just sit in one place for too long, but just enough time to be where I needed to be. So that's it. The timing was perfect when I went through it.
Love that.
I'm not saying the shenanigans wasn't there, but you know what I mean? It was perfect timing for me. So I mean, I had a good experience with it.
So I can relate because I had a good experience with my treatment, but from the outside, there's people that will say like, oh, well, it's just because you wanted it. No, I think it's a lot more than just the person themselves. It's how is that person approached? How is the person cared for, that individualized treatment plan? And for our listeners, like I am a chemical dependency counselor. I work for a certain place. We'll talk about that in a second, but I work for a particular place, but the treatment center that I went to was Community Assessment and Treatment Services of Wadsworth. And they've been in business since 1992. And their success rate is I think it's over 70%. It's unreal.
Really?
So yeah. And when you have a treatment facility, I don't want to call it that, community assessment, if you look at that model of treatment, there's a reason why that works. It's not just one counselor, for an individualized case. Yes, there is like that individual counseling session, but at the same time, a group of counselors comes together and they meet and help each other with their individual cases and say, hey, this might work for your client. This might work for this client. And it's a community assessment which helps that person, that individual, gather more tools, case management, whatever it looks like. So my experience in treatment was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. I got all these different tools that I needed. There was a lot of support. My counselor himself is like, if you read my book, it's my counselor Jim is in there throughout the book.
Yeah.
I think literally throughout the book. But um, yeah. So my treatment episode, honestly, and that was my first time ever. It was awesome. And I learned a lot and I took a lot from it. And I still go back to that treatment center, and donate my time, do all the things. And I help the guys that are in there now. And it's worth every single minute that I do that. So thank you for sharing on your part of treatment. And I just shared on mine. We have a very exciting guest with us today to help us kind of explore what makes a good treatment center, expose some of the disparities. And her name is Caleigh Hoskins, and she is the CEO, like the big cheese, the head dog at Skypoint Recovery. And they're not just in Fairlawn. That's where one of their locations is. It's Fairlawn, it's Akron, and Richmond, Virginia. So this is a pretty big organization. So we are so excited to have her on. Caleigh, hi, welcome to Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will.
Hi. Hi, you two. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yes.
This is an honor. I feel very honored to be a part of this dynamic duo. I love this so much.
We are very happy to have you on. And Caleigh, for our listeners, we want to know, who is Caleigh Hoskins? Who is she?
Who am I? Well, there's a couple of different ways. So many things. I mean, you may hear things on the streets. Who am I? Well, I mean, yes. And by the way, thank you so much for that. The whole CEO, the big cheese, loved it so much. But there is much more to me than just that. I am a mom. I am someone who is in recovery. I am 12 years sober. I'm a passionate woman who, the whole reason I did this, the whole reason I started Skypoint is because I've been on the other side. I get it. Talking about Recovery Unfiltered the way that you guys do, I can really resonate with that. And that is the kind of person that I am, is just trying to help people. I guess the woman that I am is someone who just wants to see people succeed. That is really what my goal is in life, is to try to help them, get them to even where I am today. I think that seeing my life from where I was 12 years ago, I don't even know that person. So that's really who I am. If you ask who I am, I can just say I'm a really passionate individual trying to help others.
I love that. You said some people know me on the street. And when you said that, I was just like, oh God, here we go. Some people know me on the street.
My name might be, who knows what you're going to hear. I mean, it could be anything. When Caleigh Hoskins and Skypoint are together, I mean, they could, you know how it is. They love to say things. But I know what we're about. And Skypoint is something I'm very proud of. And I'm very proud of the people that work there. I'm so proud of every single employee. Most of the staff is in recovery, which I think is very unique. I think that's one thing that helps every single patient. So I know that what we have built at Skypoint is something that is pretty incredible.
I believe it, and I see that. So we are so grateful that you were on board, because for the listeners, and sometimes I even have questions, like when we think of treatment, I think that gets misconstrued a little bit. And, social media, the movie 28 Days Later with Sandra Bullock. Sandra, if you're listening, sorry, but
my favorite movie.
I love that movie.
It's a good movie. It's such a good movie.
That was my treatment movie that I watched in treatment. I was like, this
Yep.
Yes.
And Girl Interrupted. That was also my treatment movie.
Girl Interrupted.
That is a great one.
So while that does show a 28-day program, you see a lot of the kumbaya stuff, the kumbaya side of treatment, but that's not really what treatment looks like. And yes, they showcase like individual treatment and a counselor and like a group. And then they also show like the fellowship, mutual support stuff. But it doesn't show, that's a good model is what we're going to say, that the movie shows. So I want to know from you, Caleigh, and I know Nick's got other questions too, but I want to know from you, Caleigh, best definition for you, what makes a good treatment center?
I think there's so many facets to what a good facility should look like. I think that number one, and especially I can tell you this when building Skypoint, my first priority is always client care. That is the main priority. You always want to make sure that they are put first, their needs are met. Yes, it's great to have a space that is beautiful for them to heal. I think that that was kind of the main goal when creating Skypoint was I want to have this luxury program for people who are struggling and who have, Medicaid, and it's not that commercial space, the private insurance. But I think the main goal when you're looking to have a great treatment program, you really have to look at the people that are on the inside and who are there every single day with the patients, which that is your clinicians, your case managers, that is your staff, that is the people who are helping get them better. So if you don't have them creating individualized treatment plans, if you don't have them doing the things that are really going to help support them through this journey to get them better, and you don't have that case management that's supporting them, you're not going to get them where they need to be. You have to have that. You have to help them build life skills. I believe there's such a foundation to showing them, hey, you can get to this next phase in life, which that's what we do at Skypoint. We build this program for them that kind of transitions them back into everyday life. And that's what the goal is. Because when you get to that next step out of that little bubble that you're in when you're in treatment, that is the hardest part. And that is what we're trying to transition you into. So that is our main goal, is to say, hey, we can give you these tools, but we also want to transition you to make sure that you are going to succeed into the world. Because once we let you loose, you're going to make it or break it. There's so many people that we watch cycle in and out, in and out. And I love that you're here and we want to help you, but we don't want to see you again. We don't want you to keep coming back. And it's true. It works if you work it. I know that sounds really cliche, but it's so true.
It really is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Caleigh, you said something about individualized treatment plans. So what does the individualized treatment actually look like?
So to be honest, in regards to the individualized treatment plan, we have the mental health, the trauma, physical health, family relationships, the legal involvement, your psychiatric services, case management goals, your discharge planning, your ASAM recommendations. You have all these things that are part of it. The list goes on. It just depends on like I said, the individual. It's individualized treatment planning. So it just depends on what they're coming in for. But the main goal really is, if this person's coming in, which I'm going to be honest, it's probably 95% of people that we see. It could be a little bit more than that, but I'm going to go 95% that walk through that door, they're struggling with mental health. So you have to make sure that that is your main focus there. So putting them in the right groups. What's really cool that we have created at Skypoint, I give this all to my clinical team. They have made sure that we color code groups. We make sure they're in the right sections. We make sure they go to the right places, that they're getting the care that they need always. Because if they don't get that help and they don't get that support in the right group, and they're not seen, and they don't feel like, hey, you know what, I really have that support. And if I need to reach out to somebody and I need that one-on-one, I can get it. That's what creates that individualized care. Because I hear all the time from so many patients, though, and I'll be honest, once again, this is unfiltered, so here you go. I will tell them all the time, if you need to reach out to me, I'm here to support you. I'm your friend. I don't know if I should be giving my number out, but guess what? You guys, I do. Kill me if I do. I give my number out. Sue me, but I do.
Right.
So I want to support everybody, but that's one thing that I think all of the staff, not only because, they come in every day ready to help, ready to watch these people progress and get better. But at the same time, I truly believe that every single one of our staff members care. They develop these relationships. And they're like, you know what? I want to watch this person succeed. Will, I don't want to talk about you, but you're just fabulous. Like, I adore you. And I think absolutely incredible. Even at the women's facility, one time they sat in one of your groups and they were just like, please bring him back. They put in a request because they loved him so
Yeah,
much.
they did. Oh my gosh. Also,
Aw.
quick pointer for our listeners. So Caleigh and I actually know each other outside of this podcast anyways, because I'm gonna blow the lid off of it. I also work at Skypoint Recovery and I am a counselor there, and I'm very grateful to be there, truly. But I can relate to a lot of what that individualized care looks like. Um, Treatment plans have a tendency to look cookie cutter, especially when like we're sending them off to insurance. And it can, with it day in and day out, it does end up sometimes looking the same, but how it's approached with that individual is where it really counts. Like, we have opportunities to find out more about our client. Even if we're in a group setting, we can get that dynamic and then tailor our group towards, what that individual might be struggling with while also helping that entire group. So that's really important. And that was one of the questions that I have is, how do programs avoid like an assembly line treatment?
I think that at least I'm going to speak for myself because I feel like it's not right for me to talk about other programs in that way, but at least I can tell you one, because even as a CEO, I'm still out there every single day. I am helping bring the patients in. So I do see these programs. I know other owners of programs. I know other CEOs, but what I can tell you is I think to make it not a cookie cutter, not to make it an assembly line, not to make it like that, you have to either go the route that we did, which was make it more of that family feel. Like when you walk in, you feel like you're a part of a family and that you truly have those people that care and surround you. And then also, like I said, you have to really work on that clinical background, that clinical aspect of the treatment plans, of the care. And then you also have to have the add-ons. You have to do all of the fun things that we do, the extra curricular things. You have to take them to, help them with the life skills, take them to the fun activities, the events, and the fall's coming up. We take them to haunted houses. We do all kinds of fun stuff, like you have to do those things. You have to make it something exciting. It can't just be basic. You have your groups, you're going to your individual therapy, and then you have case management, and like make it just so, like you said, cookie cutter and just an assembly line. It can't be like that. Treatment can't be like that. No one's going to succeed from that.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. One of the things we do at Skypoint is we have ice cream days. Yeah.
My new thing I just did, I just had this thing in my head, like, let's get an ice cream truck out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from. One of my 2 a.m. thoughts, because my brain never shuts off. So I woke up and the next day I was like, let's get an ice cream truck. So literally the next morning at 11:30, there was an ice cream truck there. Don't ask me why, but
That was awesome though. And that was the week a couple of weeks ago where it was like, 100,000 degrees. And I walk outside. Actually, I'm not going to say her name on here. Came upstairs. If you're listening, I totally just mouthed it. But anyways,
yeah.
She came upstairs and she's like, "Hey, Will, there's 2 ice cream tickets here for you." I was like, "What? There's ice cream?"
Yeah.
Okay. And I went out, I beelined outside. I skipped like every step on the way down and I got my ice cream and it was like, oh my God. This
Well,
is
that's
really
my new thing. Like, all these patients come in and they're talking about, oh, well, in detox, I could get as much ice cream as I wanted. I'm thinking, dude, you're in detox. First of all, I'm sure you want to sugar it up.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you guys love these ice cream machines so much, I'll get you a truck. And you know what? Maybe I'll just get us an ice cream machine. Well, I don't know. If I need to do that, I will get us an ice cream machine. That's where I am. If I have to get an ice cream machine,
Yep.
so be it.
That's the family side of it though.
Yes.
There's spontaneous things that we do, even as families, even as friends, that make us feel connected, make us feel like we're wanted around. And I think that's another part of treatment where it's, it gets a bad rap sometimes where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to be away from my family and everything that I know. And yeah, I know there's a treatment model where it says like, yeah, you have to pull the person out of the situation that they were in. But how do we do that and still care about the person and show them
Right.
that they are loved, they are cared about, and they have purpose in this life. So I
Absolutely.
love that a lot. Nick, I can see you're burning with another question.
Well, yeah. What I wanted to say was that's so awesome that you did that for the. I mean, that's like if I was in treatment, like I kind of want to go back to treatment just to go to Skypoint.
Sure, we'll take you back. Tell me when you're ready. No,
I don't want to go back. No, but
we don't want you to go
no.
back ever. But yeah, it's a party sometimes. We like having fun. We get them food. Like sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we're really craving Chipotle. And for no reason, I'll just like order them lunch or something. But like,
So
that's
awesome.
we want them to know. Like that's the thing. We want them to know, like, hey, you do the right things and good things happen to you. You're honest. Because for once in their life now, they're being honest. They're working hard. They're really focusing on them. They're gaining, sober, honest, healthy friends. Like they're doing all these things and they're finding their faith again, which is incredible. We've had so many guys get baptized, like all these things that we're doing. And it's like, when you're at that point in your life and you're doing all these right things, we want to show them, hey, good comes with that. So we're going to do what we can to get you back on your feet, to help you. And let me show you that all good things will happen. The more good that you do, good comes back to you. Number one, that's karma. Like I fully believe in karma. But at the same time, that's God working. Like I'm a person of faith too. Like I have had a lot of different things happen to me that have actually, which is crazy to say, been harder for me even than getting sober. And I've had to lean so hard on my faith. And I think that is one thing that these guys, have to kind of learn through this too. If it's not God that you believe in, you have to have some kind of higher power to help get you through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We just absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
we just absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, Caleigh, you talked about your faith. How did you get to that? How did you get to that moment?
Well, I mean, it depends on how far we're going to go back, but I can kind of try to sum this up because that could take a little bit. And I don't want the viewers to be sitting here forever and be like, okay, wow, well, that's a lot. And it is a lot to process. It's a lot to take in. My journey actually did start for me. I'll start from the beginning. I'll try to start from the beginning. So through my life, I grew up here in Ohio. I grew up in Palo, Ohio. It's a suburb. It's very quaint. It's like white picket fences. If anyone's familiar with Lewis Center. It's like a bubble. Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar. So it's literally a bubble. And I had pretty much like, I don't think you could get any better of an early life, like from, elementary to high school. Everything was pretty much as perfect as it possibly could get for me. I had the best family. I'm an only child. And I kind of just grew up with, I was captain of the cheerleading squad. I was, on homecoming court, all those things, so it's like, yeah, all the stuff that you think is like what's supposed to happen, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So my main goal was to, in college, I was going to cheer, which that was a goal of mine, and I did achieve it. So I tried out all these different schools. I tried out at UC. I was going to try out at Kentucky. Ended up not doing that because it was a little bit too much. It was too intense for me. So I was like, maybe it would be a big fish in a small pond. Let me just focus on that. So that's kind of what I went for. Then I did a tryout at Indiana, WVU, and then Bowling Green. So I ended up going with Bowling Green because that was a big fish in a small pond, and it was the best choice for me. So I ended up going there, and that's kind of when the start to my spiral began. Because I kind of I think being outside of this bubble and being able to just let loose all of a sudden, mind you, I was that girl who did sports and athletic. I danced. I did everything. I danced. I was constantly doing something. So my parents always said, you never have to work if you're always doing something. So I didn't have a job. So, I mean, I'm going into college, having to start doing things on my own. I'm kind of overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, there's freedom. Like, what do I do now? So it's like alcohol. I have to actually start managing my money. Like, I don't know what to do. So I know it sounds crazy, but at the same time, it was a lot. And then I went for it. And then my disease completely took over. So it got to the point where I wasn't going to class and I had to maintain a 2.5 to continue being an athlete. I got my first underage. And I'll be honest, I mean, if I'll skip over kind of the in between, but these are the nasty facts. Like I was raped. Some awful things happened to me. I was roofied numerous times. I mean, some horrible things happened. Abusive relationships. So get to the bottom of the barrel, the very last incident that happened where I almost died. I had to get sent to I was on a stretcher. I don't remember any of it, obviously, but my parents were called, sent to the hospital. I guess apparently my heart did stop. I had a seizure. So I almost died. I woke up out of my blackout completely, and I was actually at home in my bed at my house back in hell. Don't remember how I got there. Don't remember anything. And that's when obviously my parents realized how bad all of it was and what was actually going on. And they said, this is kind of the moment, like, we're done. You have to go get help.
Yeah.
So at that point, I made the decision to go to Florida. So I lived there for 7 years, and that's kind of when everything, I started to really realize, okay, I think I have a problem. I think that this means I'm an alcoholic. And one thing I noticed too, and I'm sure you see it a lot today too, Will, is everyone has to go through that process where they realize, okay, I am an addict. I am an alcoholic.
Yep.
This is real. And that's something that I really struggled with. So I went to treatment 4 times. I was a chronic relapser. I wasn't able to really grasp it. I did continue to go back to the same facility. They obviously wanted me back. Now I realize I was a cash pay. So of course they were like, yeah, come on back.
Yep.
Keep coming. So yes, but I did. I got the help, and I ended up getting sober. Some horrible relationships in between. That was a common theme for me, was abusive relationships. Almost died. That did happen when I was sober. But there was one last relapse where I crashed my car, and that was it. I was done. That was the very end for me.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what did it. It wasn't even treatment.
That's deep, Caleigh.
Yeah.
That's damn.
Can I
I just learned a
just,
lot more. Yeah, Nick, go for
can
it.
I like have a heart to heart with just Caleigh for just like a minute?
Yeah.
The beginning of your story, what is mine?
Really?
I was a competitive cheerleader. I was the first male cheerleader at my high school. I tried out at UC, I tried out at Kent State, and I tried
Stop
out
it.
at Wright State. And I wanted to be the big fish in a little pond. So I went to Wright State because
Yeah,
they didn't have a football team. Stupid.
it's okay.
But I
It's
mean,
fine.
but that's where when I went to college, I lived a life of structure. So when I got to college, that was when I got to let my freak flag fly hard.
Yes,
And that's where
I get it.
that's exactly where it started. I totally level with you 100%. I get it. Car crashes, been there, raped.
That's the sad part. When you come to that point, like you've talked through it. I've done a lot of therapy to get through those things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you get to that point, you get it. Like you can speak about it, and you're like, okay, this happened to me. I have to realize it. And the worst part is, like, I knew that person. It was one of the football players on the team. Like, I knew that person. I trusted that person. Like, it was somebody I knew. It wasn't some random person. So, like, that's what makes it sick. Like, you know, when you like know that person, it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, mine was like 2 guys that I was living with that I thought were cool. And then, I had too much G and then passed out, and
Yep.
they kept going, and I was unconscious, on Zoom.
God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
horrible.
The experiences that we're talking about, this is common in all of us. It's not, and that's what makes addiction. While it is a very unique disease, the people that are affected by it share all these common experiences. So when they come into the treatment program, I hate using the word broken, but that is what we feel like. That's how I felt coming in. And I can relate to many of that experience, right down to the rape, but we have these individuals that come in and, whether the family dynamic is, not great, or maybe it was, they have still gone through different experiences that have shaped where they're at on that day one, whether it's detox or coming into a treatment facility.
Right.
So what do we do then? What's our like initial contact? So, and that's a question that I have is, for a treatment center, getting an individual through that door, what is day one? What should day one look like?
What should it look like, or what does it look like? Those are two different
Well,
questions.
what should it look like?
Well, the goal at Skypoint, what it looks like day one, on a smooth day. Obviously, we have a female program and a male program, so we have men's and women's. But when they do come into intake, really that day is for them to get settled. So they come in, they go into intake, they're obviously searched, all their bags are searched. We go through everything. Like, you already know that happens, the whole gambit. But they come in, they do their assessment. Prior to that, just so everyone understands how that works, the process before they even hit intake and come in through our doors, there's a pre-assessment that's done prior to make sure that person could even qualify to 100% know, like, hey, they don't need further care than what we can offer, meaning like they don't need psychiatric care beyond like the mental health that we can support, because that is huge. If someone needs more help, we can always get them stabilized, and then we can bring them back once they're stable. So that happens before they even enter our doors. But they come in, they do their assessment, and then at that point, it's very organized we kind of have an entire sheet in a folder that we hand them. It's organized. They go through the process. They meet with clinical, they meet with medical, case management. They get assigned all their therapists, their case managers. They go through that process to make sure that they understand what Skypoint is about and the journey that they're going on. And then after they do that, they either get to sit through a group, depending upon how long that process is in the beginning and what time they get there. 9 times out of 10, they probably won't. The first day, we make sure they have food. We make sure they're taken care of. If they haven't eaten, we do all those things, get them settled, and then they go back to housing to get settled into their house or their apartment.
Love that. And it sounds like a busy day, but like that's like saying, okay, here is your support, here is your structure. We're not going to expect that you're going to get it all in one day, but here are the tools available, and we'll get you, like, I don't want to say seamlessly processed in, and I don't even want to use processed in, but that's ultimately on the back end is what it is. But on that front end is, we're going to help you as you need it to kind of get adjusted and not freak out and get overwhelmed right away.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Even though it is overwhelming, it's a lot. I remember my first day of treatment. It was just like, hey, you're going to do this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, huh?
Exactly. It's a lot. Mm-hmm.
I remember at the treatment center that I went at, the sober house, I actually helped with intakes every now and again. And thinking about it, I was the first face that they saw giving all this information. So like that's actually kind of a key vital importance, because if you're like, all right, you're gonna do this and throwing papers at them, they're gonna be like, okay, well, fuck you too, and and not want to talk to you again. But if you're sitting there and you're explaining it to them, this is this, like, you understand what this means, like, do you understand? Like, this is going to be all your support. This is what's going to happen. Like, do you need it? If you need anything else, please come by anytime. There's a difference in doing that, especially someone coming right off the streets or from jail or whatever. Because, especially with me being someone who's a first timer in this, like,
Right.
I'm glad I had the person I did, because I was able, I felt a connection and I was able to talk to them and be more open with them, which helped my recovery.
I mean, it's one of the most important positions, because as soon as they come in, they have to be comfortable with this person to share the information, to feel secure. And then this is the first face they're seeing when they come in. So it's like, okay, this is their first impression of Skypoint. It's either going to be great or it's going to be awful. So
Right.
you have to know that you have good people in intake.
I definitely have a burning question on this. So
Yes.
and I know that intake is that first process. So where does staff qualification come into play here? Because if you don't have that right person, how does staff, like, qualification, licensing all play a part in this, as how how a good treatment center can approach an individual that is on day one of intake?
For me, this is just a personal preference, but I like them to have CDCAs at least. Not everybody feels that way, but that's just me. And then I know that at least they have that. There doesn't really have to be a qualification for intake. I'm going to be honest. Like, a lot of people don't have to have that. That's just my preference. But I think that that's always good for them to have because it's nice training for them to have to understand. And I think it's just, that they're trained properly if they at least have a CDCA. But I think more than anything, um, I've also had admissions kind of step into and help with training a little bit with intake. I mean, I've trained some of them myself too. I've done pretty much obviously I haven't done clinical or medical, but other than that, like, I've done a lot of the roles in a facility prior to even opening Skypoint. Like, I've worked in this industry for a while. Obviously marketing is my background, but so it's one of those things that I have assisted with some things and helping and trying to make it the best that I possibly can be in the most seamless. But I think with intake, you don't really have to have certain qualifications.
So it kind of ends up being, we're looking for like a trauma-informed approach, not just to intake, but along that treatment episode regardless. But having, because you mentioned the CDCA, and for our listeners, that's a chemical dependency counselor assistant in the state of Ohio. And that is a certification where, like me, I haven't gone through college yet. Yet I'm eligible too. But it allows an individual, typically one who has gone through recovery, to be able to go back to a treatment center and provide direct support.
Mm-hmm.
Get a job, whether it's intake, resident assistance, if it's a residential treatment center. That
Yep.
was my route.
Yeah.
Started at a treatment center up in Cleveland while I was working on my CDCA. But I definitely see where having that certification, or at least just some sort of training in, trauma-informed, person-first stuff. How do we approach this person and understand that they're human? It's not just another patient number. It's not just another bill that we're going to send off to Medicaid. This is a human being that's coming through the doors, and we need to treat them as such.
That's my biggest thing is I think so many facilities sometimes can forget that because it gets lost in the shuffle. You have to remember these are human beings we're dealing with. I get at the same time, you want to get them through the door, you want to get them help, and sometimes it can become a process, and it's very, like you said, it's very like manufactured, very assembly line. It can become that because it's so often like you continue to do that and you can have 7 intakes a day, sometimes more than that. But the thing is, you have to remember, like, they need that care, that individualized care, and they need to feel special. Every single one of them has a different case. So, I mean, you have to remember those things, and it's very important.
So, Caleigh, does insurance affect the quality of care someone receives? Have you seen that before?
Yes, I definitely have it. During these days and times right now, I think that's the biggest struggle due to the fact that right now Medicaid is really going through some changes. And I think the one thing I can tell you is this. They need more time. They need more time in treatment. And I cannot say this enough. I'll shout it from the rooftops. Please, for the love of God, I pray that they get more days. I hope that insurance sees how much they need it, because sometimes what happens is they'll come in from residential treatment, they'll come in to our program, and they'll give them 6 days and expect them to go right into IOP. It's mind-blowing, and it's not something that needs to happen right now. They need the help. They need more time. And I think that insurance companies now, at least due to what's going on in the world, and I'm going to try to be as neutral here as I possibly can, what's going on in the world right now, it's a struggle, and that is affecting insurance, and that is what is affecting quality of care. So it's not necessarily the fact that it's Medicaid, or if it's, a commercial policy, if it's MedMutual, if it's, BCBS, if it's any of those things. But if it's a Medicaid policy, that's not going to be any different from a commercial policy. It's what the insurance is doing with the amount of time in each level of care. That is what is causing the problems right now. And that's what we really need to figure out.
I love that. And Nick, from last episode, I had talked about like the key tags and the 30 days clean and, the different levels of recovery time and how that works and associates with like brain development, the neural pathways as they're rebuilding. When we are looking at a treatment episode, and Caleigh, I know you can relate to this, And Nick too. I mean, we've seen it like in our own lived experience as well as like through treatment, where it's that first 30 days is crucial to not only just keeping the individual in treatment,
Right.
and not, allowing, well, I don't want to say allowing, but um, making sure that it's structured enough that they stick with the program. Um, but then that 30-day mark, that 60-day mark, we're still coming out of survival mode. And if you put someone based on an insurance, bill that says, no, we're not going to cover, more than, 2 weeks in PHP programming, what are we doing to that individual? We are saying, sorry, you've recovered enough and they've gotten 2 weeks of tools.
Right.
2 weeks of tools in PHP is, hey, this is why you shouldn't use a drug. Here's a nursing group that shows you like what the brain does, but we're not going to give you application for it because your insurance said we can't pay for this anymore. What?
And that's the problem right now, and that's what's going on, and it's really hard. Like, I'm working with other, partners that I work with, other referral partners, and that's what's so frustrating is I'm trying my best to see what I can do to maneuver to make sure that everybody can work together to get these guys and these women as much time as they possibly can get, because it's needed. I can't imagine if I were to go to treatment and I went into detox and they said, okay, bye, go to IOP. What?
Yeah.
Like, what? I never would have survived. Who knows if I'd be sitting here right now?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's mind blowing to me.
That's kind of like I said, when I went to my treatment center, so I went to a 60-day locked facility before I went to my sober living, which I was then there for another 93 days. That was
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning before they were able to do clinical stuff. And then a couple, like 2 years later, not even, I went back and I was talking to my intake person and she's like, yeah, she goes, they're in and out in 30 days here. And I'm like, that's not enough. Like,
No.
if you would have put me back out in 30 days, even if I had that 60 days prior,
Yeah, I'm
like
doing
you said,
drugs.
I don't know if I'd be here right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Facts. Sad.
Did you hear me? I said I'm doing drugs. 30 days. I was in jail for 30 days, actually 31 days. And on the way to the treatment center, I was thinking like in the back of the police cruiser because they took me to CATS. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I wonder if I could finagle the door handle to open it and just like roll out of this cruiser. 31 days
Oh
in.
my God, you were in jail for I can't even imagine. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother, that's a whole nother podcast. Why don't you talk about that on one of your
It's in my book. Some of it's in my book, but
Recovery Unfiltered, locked in with Will.
yeah, that's
Like,
right.
I just really,
They loved me in the jail. Woo.
I'm sure they did. I mean, you made it so entertaining. Bring on your celly. Let's see your celly on here.
Yeah,
Let's bring it
right.
on.
Yeah. It was an experience, but even again, like that 31 days in jail, I hadn't even had a treatment episode yet. No, I mean, I detoxed in jail.
That's awful.
Yeah, it sucked. Mine was more psychological and, emotional. It was meth. There we go.
That's literally worse than when
right?
physical. That's honestly worse.
It was bad.
I would take physical pain any day over psychological. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Give me physical pain over psychological.
Yeah,
Agreed.
It was emotionally violent. That's what I put in my book is like that coming down, that withdrawal was emotionally violent. But 31 days and I'm already still thinking like, hey, I wonder if I can like jump out of this cruiser so I don't have to go to treatment.
Right.
So imagine putting someone 31 days in a treatment and then saying, hey, bye, good luck. Here's sober living. Hopefully make it there.
No, it's not even real. It's crazy.
So you talked about the insurance side of things. I want to talk about some other disparities that don't actually, it's prevalent. It's the year 2026 and we are seeing a lot of people finally come out of their shells and start to identify themselves as part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And I've personally seen this in recovery housing. When I was working for Hope Recovery Community, it's difficult when we have standardized two gender approach to treatment housing, what do you see? What kind of disparities are LGBTQIA plus individuals seeing as far as having access to treatment spaces or recovery housing?
I think the biggest thing is, one, understanding that their identity is not a disorder. I mean, this is something that's very sensitive. And I think sometimes, like, I have to say this gently. I think clinicians even sometimes have trouble with it, trying to handle this the proper way. I think that there was a lot of people that I was even friends with that were in the LGBTQ community when I was growing up, and I adore them. So, like, I understand it and I get it. And I think that, like, with the pronouns and things, those are more prevalent now. So I think that respecting them is huge. And I think that that's something that some people just don't understand that you need to do. And I think that that's what's really frustrating to me. I think it's just one of those things with the lack of their privacy, understanding that they feel that they need that when they come in. And I think it's not one of those things that they're hiding anything. They truly just they have a lot of feelings that they're dealing with and working through. So having to respect their space and their privacy. I think that, having assumptions and kind of like misreading them is also something. It's because you have to be really careful with the housing and,
Yeah.
the gender with the bathrooms and things like that. We have to be very careful with those things.
Yeah.
And they do have special things that they need.
Yes.
So you can't discriminate. You can't discriminate with them, and you have to be very careful. So I think that that's something that we're working on. And then also on top of it, it's no different than any other patient. They're really struggling with the mental health, the anxiety, the trauma. You will see more than anything with them, the LGBTQ community especially. The trauma is typically a little worse.
It's immense.
Yeah.
We are, and sorry to cut you off there.
No, please.
You are dead on, very correct on that. And I'm not putting the community above anyone else here, but we do experience copious amounts of trauma, and it's not just through drug use. It's not just like sexual trauma. Sometimes that trauma comes directly from the family dynamic, where the family didn't understand the individual or whatever it was. That individual ended up flat out on their ass on the street, having to fend for themselves, but then also with them being on the street, the outside world is horrible
Cruel.
sometimes. Yeah, it's very cruel. So, that survival mode was kicked in, some of them long before the drugs even hit, where they had to find out who their people were right away. And, it escalated. And that we see a lot of that where it turned into sex work. It turned into, uh, finding a community that would accept them. And, a lot of that was, hey, they were on drugs. And okay, so they didn't really care or think about it. So it was like, okay, well, no, those are my people. And okay, well, they're using drugs. And I guess so am I. So and there's more to it. That's just, that's like the top layer of it. But yeah, like I was saying too, I see this in recovery housing, and I'm not trying to dog recovery housing environments. It is very difficult, especially when you have, housing environments that were initially set up simply as like men's housing, women's housing. Um,
Hmm.
and someone that identifies as a trans individual, um, it's difficult. It is difficult, but I do see recovery housing environments now changing the way that they have their setup. And while they have like a men's house, women's house, they are now trying to invest money. And I see a couple of nonprofits doing this around Ohio, where they are investing money into just buying an additional house, and instead of it being one or the other gender there, it's saying that it's a family-oriented recovery housing, which it's adaptable. which makes so much sense. Hope Recovery Community is actually doing this right now. They just bought the old Medina Town Motel, which was a horrible place. But with they're turning it into, I think it's 8 individual units that are going to be able to rotate on what the needs of that person is, which is really cool. So it's going to involve like women and children, LGBTQIA plus individuals, whatever it looks like, to have that safe space. And not to keep going on this, but I think that's a direction that, treatment facilities as well as recovery housing environment, that's a direction to go towards is, what, maybe we do need to, that extra that we end up with at the end of the year, let's start investing it into, what does that care look like as adaptable care so we are including everyone?
I think that's huge. And I absolutely love that. And I think that's really big. The one thing that we try to do now, because I don't have that gender neutral house, I don't have that neutral space, I'm very careful with how we bring them in, but it's what do you, how do you recognize yourself? Are you female right now? Are you male? But also I try to, I'm just being very transparent. I think they're going to respect this because this is how I operate with them. And it's always how I am with the community. But I think that it's, where are you at in your transitioning process? Do you currently have female parts? Do you currently have male parts? Where are you at in your process? Because that's how I recognize. And I think that it's, let's respect you where you're at and let's meet you where you are. Because I think that that's where I can place you and that's where I can make you feel most comfortable. I'm all about that. So I think it's just getting every clinician on board with that. And I think that that's how things should be. I am okay. Like we've had numerous patients and I'm usually I am the one who brings them in. I'm not going to say their names, but like I think they've done really well in our program. And if they end up leaving for some reason, they do come back and then they end up succeeding and graduating, which is fabulous. But I think that they hold a special place in my heart because I know how bad they're struggling, and it just breaks my soul because I think that there is that point with some of them, even when they're younger, that they just go through that fighting phase. Like they don't know what's going on with them. And they're like, do I fight it? Do I just go through it? What do I do with this urge? And I know, like what you said, some of them, their families just write them off and they're alone. And that is, to me, that's heartbreaking. That's no different than somebody who is in their active addiction and their family doesn't trust them anymore and leaves them for, with nothing. Yeah. But it's actually 10 times worse because they feel this shame, this horrible guilt and shame because of who they are. And it's just the most heartbreaking thing to watch.
Yeah. I'm grateful because like I said, it's 2026 and we're definitely seeing a shift, and I'm seeing a lot of different programs start to recognize that they need to step up, which is really good. It's very good. Nick, do you have thoughts on this?
I wanted to comment on on that extra housing that you were talking about. I think that is a brilliant idea. I mean, because there's not that many places like a certain treatment center like where people can just go and just be okay. Like there's not a lot of those, and the ones that are getting put because they are, their initial gender is this, they're getting put into these places where they're not safe. They're not getting what they need. They're not, like, the mental aspect of it, they're not being treated what they need to be. So it's hard. I think it's especially hard for those cases just because they don't have specific places for them to go. And like, yeah,
I agree with
it
that.
does need to be looked at a lot more. And I love that like you said, Caleigh, that you guys are looking into that. And I love how you said that you're able to ask those questions, like those personal questions that a lot of people are so afraid to ask. But you need to do that though, because you need to know where they're at in their transition, because it depends. It really does depend on that.
Absolutely, it does. It makes a difference. I mean, you can't guess. You have to know. You have to know what's going on with them. I can't just guess. So, I mean, that's something I have to do. I have to ask the hard questions. And I think more than anything, I've watched them open up more. Like when I ask them these questions, I feel like they've opened up more and they're like, you know what? Like, thank you so much for asking me. Thank you for wanting to know. And I feel like it's one of those things that it's been really good. It's kind of been a part of the process, even when I talk to them, and I feel like it's been great. So I hope that other people can be more transparent, because that's something I feel like you should do.
You hit a really good point there, Caleigh. Yes, absolutely ask. So one of the trainings that I started writing was um, it's LGBTQIA plus inclusivity within treatment programs and recovery housing. This is another side project. Oh my God. Yeah, because I don't have enough on my plate, but I started doing this months ago. But when I was doing my research for the CEU, um, the the number one factor that would shy people away from a treatment center or recovery housing was the person that they were dealing with, whether it was intake or um, just whatever, that initial phone call, the information gathering. What they were seeing was no one was asking. They were just assuming. And the moment that the question was asked, what gender do you identify as? Instead of, are you male or female?
Right.
Because you don't give them that choice. When you ask that question of are you male or female, you are taking away the choice for that person to respond. You are saying it has to be this or this. So when you say the identification question or where are you at in your transition journey, that leaves it to them. It gives them the personal agency to be able to identify the way that they want to. And then we as a treatment center or program, whatever it is, can say, well, this is what we have available and we're working on it. But this, unfortunately, right now is what we have available. And then there's that warm handoff. What other resources do we have? Are we connecting other agencies, recovery housing? Are we calling around as well instead of just saying, okay, well, we can't do it, but here's a sheet of phone numbers. Good luck. So, and I see that.
We don't operate like that. I can tell you that much.
That's it. But that's a direction. And, this episode is not pointing out flaws. It's just saying, hey, what are some things that we could be exploring that could guide us towards being a better treatment center? So, and we don't know always who our listeners are, but, I know we've got, some clinicians on here that listen, and people that are higher up on the treatment chain. Hey, you're one of us. Hey, you're kind of high up on the chain there, but
Thank you.
these are also ideas, approaches that we can look at, as far as like treatment goes.
Well, I like to be in the trenches with you guys. That's the problem. Like, I just always I get in there with you guys. I get in the dirt. So
Yep.
I think that that's something that I really enjoy doing. I don't think I'll ever stop. People ask me all the time, are you ever going to just take a break and like live your life? No, probably not. I don't know what that looks like. I don't think I ever will, but thank you.
Right.
So I think that is, yeah. Obviously I'm really happy that we're able to, thank you for letting me have this platform with you guys to share. So maybe people can hear the other side too, to like what I'm seeing daily, what goes on, the patient care side of it, because that's so important. And then also hearing that other side, like what I just talked about, the Medicaid, like there's so many things that people can do to support every single patient that comes through the door, because they need the help.
And it's not just one particular community. It's a community of humans, every single one of us. And I love that. One of the other things I wanted to ask, and then we can start wrapping this up because we're getting to our time here. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for hanging on. If you're listening, thanks for hanging on. This is one of our longer episodes, but there's a lot when it comes to treatment. It's not just, hey, walk through the door, get, through your treatment, bye. There's a lot that goes behind it, whether it's staff, ethics. Actually, that's my question, is ethics. What ethical concerns do you see, in treatment centers that are a hindrance to the treatment episode?
This is a tough one because I also I want to be very careful the way that I word this. There is some ethical things when it comes to some programs. I believe that I can speak for myself. When you always do things the right way, number one, I can lay my head down at night knowing that I'm always doing the right thing. And when you do the right thing, good things will come back to you.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is there are programs out there that are definitely pushing it to the limit as much as they possibly can to benefit themselves when it comes to billing, how sick each patient is, their circumstances, um, so just types of things that they need to state, maybe on the eight. I'm not necessarily saying clinical. I don't really want to say that. I can't even say like on the I can't say that. I don't know what they're putting on their peer-to-peers, things like that. I can't say that because I don't know. But I do know the only thing I can say is this. They push the boundaries, they push the limits as much as they possibly can to make it easier for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That is where that ethical boundary is crossed. And along within the marketing space, there's a lot of people who will definitely push that, and they'll do it with patients. That is something that has always been a known thing. You know, marketers still out there patient brokering. I mean, that's not really happening so much anymore. That's something that they've always said. But that was one thing that people, they definitely will do it. It was a thing in Florida for a very long time. I don't really see that so much anymore, but there are some people who they have their circles, they have the way they operate. I know that if you always do the right thing, good things come back to you. So that's what I will stand on, but there is definitely ethical boundaries that are crossed in this industry.
I agree. I got to be careful here too. I mean, it's unfiltered, but you know, out of respect for treatment centers, any treatment center that you walk into is a recovery atmosphere. But when that recovery atmosphere becomes a difficult place to recover in, that's where for me it crosses that line, and there shouldn't be barriers. I mean, I understand that there are barriers within treatment anyways. Just, you know, anything can be a barrier depending on the individual, whatever it looks like. But the goal of accountability in a treatment center, I think that's what that boils down to, is it's accountability. We are, as clinicians, I like to say, regardless of having a medical license or not, our priority, our top priority as clinicians, as direct care staff, as peer supporters, whatever it looks like, is to do no harm, period. And when you when someone goes in for personal gain, whether it's, it's unfiltered, whether it's sexual, whether it's money, whether it's mutual relationship or dual relationship, we talked about this, Nick, in our 13 stepping. It's not just about sex. It's about codependency. You make that individual, you know, codependent. You interrupt that treatment for someone. You interrupt that recovery process, and you play on their vulnerability, and that makes you, whoever it is, not you.
Right, 100% you do.
It becomes predatory.
Yeah, and then also, that made me think too, you have to be careful with everything you say.
Yeah.
I am not stating that I don't know of any facilities. I'm not going to name any. I'm not saying that they are. I can't make that justification because I don't have facts here. But other programs, I can tell you this much. When you have patients that are going to a program and they're not sober in the program and they're simply going in there and there's using going on, I'm sorry, but that is not ethical. When you hold them accountable, like you said, that is something that, one, you're going to see patients like, it's too tough, the program's too hard. They make so many comments. That's because we're holding them accountable and we want them to get better. That's what they say. But at the same time, that is where the unethical boundary is crossed. When you know they're in there, they're just using, there's patients that are, you know, dying, horrible things that are happening, but they're doing it and they're okay with it because they're getting the money.
Yeah.
So that kind of So for me, okay, so with the ethical and then like with them, with the treatment centers getting the money and pushing those boundaries, like you said, I mean, is that forcing clients to sometimes be discharged into unsafe situations? Would you say sooner?
All the time, all the time for other programs. But for us, I can tell you one thing at Skypoint, I'll speak for myself. We are not discharged into, I don't let them discharge into unsafe environments. One rule that I have is that they're always discharged. If they refuse to go to another program, they get discharged into it's called like either the Haven of Rest or something that's nearby that is like a homeless shelter. So I know at least they're somewhere and they're not on the street. I won't put somebody somewhere unsafe.
Love that. That's that warm handoff again. If we're putting someone back into the environment that they came from, without any access to additional resources, then we're doing harm. We're doing harm. Simple as that.
Right.
So I love that. Caleigh, this has been quite the conversation. I am so grateful for it.
Grateful for you guys. Thank you for having me.
We have touched on a lot of different topics.
Yes.
And again, this episode was not to point out any treatment center. We're looking at what makes a good treatment center and where are some of the things that we need to pick up on? What can we do research on? And at the end of the day, it becomes if it is our responsibility to help an individual, then that is what we are responsible to do. Period.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate goal of treatment as clinicians, as direct care staff, whatever it is, that we are, upholding that responsibility, the highest level of responsibility to that client, to that individual, to make sure that their care is individualized and goal-oriented and that we are accountable as well as they. So this has been wonderful.
Yeah,
yes.
Caleigh, thank you so much. I literally, just the answer of your first question, you melted my heart. And every time you kept answering, I'm just like, oh, it just keeps melting. I'm like, she's just so awesome.
I love that.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I enjoy it so much. I'll do this anytime. I love talking to you guys.
That's brilliant. So real quick, before we close out this episode, I want to take a quick ad break. Colors Across the Sky, A Journey of Hope, is my personal memoir. Also, Colors Across the Sky LLC is who presents this podcast. If you go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, I'll put those links in the episode description. 5% of every single book sale from this moment until August 15th of 2027 is going to be donated back to the Jadva House of Akron. Just a dad from Akron. And the Jadva House is a recovery community organization that my heart melts for. Their mission is to help individuals and families that are affected by addiction, and to help them recover and give them access to resources as well as peer support services and transportation, all the things. So that money is going to help them keep the lights on at their facility and give those services out to those who truly need it. And it really helps the Akron area and Kenmore Boulevard because they're located at 916 Kenmore Boulevard. So I'll put those links in the description. So check those out. And then also we are on Patreon. We are slowly figuring out Patreon. But I will put that link down there as well. We encourage you subscribe. This podcast is not free to produce. We have a host that we pay monthly. We have equipment, and it really does help. And the goal is with that subscription, we're going to try to figure out how to get some bonus episodes out, some bonus content for our subscribers. But it's a low cost subscription. It's $5 a month. Yay! So for $60 a year, you can help us get the word out and keep us talking too. Not that we're ever going to stop, but it keeps us talking. Never. So, this has been a wonderful experience. Also, we do have, our guest list is jam-packed.
And growing
over the next couple of months. Coming up next week, we've got Pej from, it's Pej Algamandan from Pej's Recovery Corner. And he is out in California. It is going to be a wild episode. I'm definitely looking forward to that. We have invites that are being sent out as well to some other people. But yeah, Pej is going to be with us next weekend, and we're going to be looking at interventionism. He is an interventionist, and we're going to look at some of the differences that we used to see on the show Intervention and what actually is intervention. And we're also going to hear a little bit about Pej before Pej was Pej. So definitely looking forward to that. And then the following week, we do have Christine Russo, who is the sister of Dominic Russo. Listeners, if you're familiar with Netflix's The Crash, that's where you've seen or heard Christine Russo's name. I've heard her name because I grew up in Strongsville. And that is Dominic Russo and Damian Flanagan were both victims of a vehicular homicide, is what I'm going to call it. It was not an accident. Mackenzie Shrilla, who drove her car into a building at 100 miles an hour on purpose and took the lives of Dominic Russo and Damian Flanagan. And we're going to have Christine Russo on because she has some very good insight as far as what grief looks like in recovery, and what that process looks like to recover from grief. So we're definitely excited to have her on, and that's gonna be a heartwarming episode. I already know that. I'm very grateful that she has said yes and is going to come on with us. So
some really good ones the next few weeks.
Yeah, we've got some wonderful people, and very grateful for that. So also, ARC Recovery Fest is coming up August 14th at 834 Grant Street in Akron. We are going to be there. We are going to be going live from the event, which we're really excited about. Colors Across the Sky is going to be there. And then August 15th is my book release at the Jadfa House. September 12th, we are going to be at the Blue Water Recovery Organization, or gosh, I always say this wrong. Blue Water Recovery Community Organization. There we go. Up in Port Huron, Michigan for their Recovery Fest. And again, the podcast is going to be going live from there, which is going to be awesome. They've got special guests. Rap artist Benjamin Lerner is going to be there. Definitely looking forward to that. Maybe he'll sign one of my books. That would be weird, but who knows? Cool. Now he can't sell that book. Who knows? But yeah, so there we go. So again, listeners, thank you so much for staying tuned and continuing to support this podcast and see what we're all about. We love you very, very much.
Thank you. We love you. Yes, very, 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 very much. A lot.
Yeah, for real. We're very grateful. This has been episode 5 of Recovery Unfiltered with Nick and Will.
Nick Fantozzi.
And my name is Will Cashman. Thank you all for listening. Put a smile on your face. We love you very much, and we'll hopefully get to talk to you next week.